Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 12 of Being Vulnerable. My name is Chris, aka Carpal Tunnel, and I got a very special guest today, um, Ava Breeze.
Hi
You want
everyone.
you want to tell the world a little bit about yourself?
Hi guys. So my name is Ava Breeze. I am an 18-year-old singer-songwriter from New Jersey. I've lived here my entire life, and it's why I'm wearing a New Jersey Devils hoodie. Also to celebrate the launch of my new song, Little Devil in Red.
And we're gonna get a little bit vulnerable.
I'm very spiritual, so I believe that everything in the universe, even though if we don't know its story right now, it's meant to happen and it's meant to be. Like just because someone's in your life now, they could be a learning lesson, they could be the love of your life. They are teaching you some form of value. Every connection is so valuable in its own way that people believe sometimes that, oh, this person's in my life, they're going to be in my life forever. But even if they're not in your life forever, they're still changing you. It's almost like that one line from Wicked. I forgot how it goes exactly, but because I knew you, you've changed me for the better.
Oh, yeah, I'm a spiritual person. Everything you just said actually aligns to a lot of the things that I actually write my music about. I have certain songs that I haven't really released to people, but one of them is called Remembered, and
Hmm.
it's just about how the impact everyone has around you, um, and the impact you have on everybody around you. Like the meaning of life is being remembered, being continue on, having a positive impact on others, so they basically spread the story of or not the story, but the inspiration that you're giving them through whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the line, but it's basically saying that like if I am remembered, I am continuing on living even after I pass away. If people can remember the impact that I have, that is the meaning that I found for life after I was basically mistaken thinking that love was the meaning, but no, being remembered was the meaning that I needed to have as a journey through life. So
Yeah.
my musicals and my songs and just my films, everything is all about impacting someone for the positive and then keeping my legacy through impact, positive impact.
I love that. I agree. It's all about the mark you leave on the world. Like the world is crazy and messed up in a lot of ways, but it's also beautiful in so many ways that if you could just make it even like the tad bit better or make one person's frown turn into a smile, like you are doing something so important. And people think, oh, I have to make like such a big mark, but no, like even if you change just one person's outlook or like you're
That's it.
smiling right now. Like even just like making someone smile, like that's so important. Like laughter and joy is so important. Just spreading kindness, even complimenting someone. One of my firm beliefs is I believe in putting out what I receive. So I always try to compliment someone at the grocery store and like I could just notice their eyes light up and I'm like, I love that. I just love spreading joy and positivity and it always ends up coming back around.
The reason why I smiled is because yeah, that was the message of that song. Um, is because when I first started trying to make an impact, I was thought I had to make like a big impact. But when I
Yeah.
realized just affecting one person's life, impacting them for a positive is actually more of an impact. And like every little change you make in the world is making the world a better place.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted after like my whole redemption story. If you've heard that through the other things of me coming from, an addict, a person who um made a lot of pain on others, but it wasn't, physical pain. It was more my own pain putting on to others that because I didn't know where I was going in my drive in life. And
Yeah.
once I could I found spirituality and found that every little impact that you have on this world is actually making the world a better place. That is the reason why I make the music that I do and the films that I do about mental health and all these things is it gives me purpose in life.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I love music so much is music is one of the very few languages of the world, if not the only language that connects every single person together. There does not need to be lyrics. It could just be a drum beat. It could connect people of across all different cultures, all different languages, all different religions, all different genders, whatever. So I found so much power in music. Music helped me through so many difficult times of my life that now I can also create something that can aid in other people's joy. Like that same idea we were talking about changing one person, taking them on a journey through musicality and evoking an emotion. It doesn't matter if the emotion is positive or making them reflect on something. You are telling a story, you are in your element. And I find that so important. I want my music, whether happy or sad or angry, to evoke emotion. I want to make people feel things. Sometimes it takes going through the darkest situations to really see your potential. Because if you've never stumbled and fallen, then you could never realize how high you could go.
Which is
And I
another
think you've gone through the thick of it, and you are such a strong individual.
I I I have my weak moments still, but
We all do.
I
We're all human.
I try to be strong for others, especially as someone who is been kind of a mentor for a lot of people in like school.
Yeah.
Like I ended up taking on mentorship roles and leading clubs of I started a student organization at University of Colorado Denver called PACA, the People of Color Creative Alliance.
Okay.
Um, most of the artists there at the school had a lot of well, the ones who are different, the LGBTQ community, the people of color, the people with disabilities and stuff. We were kind of ostracized and outcasted through this university program where like no one would be on our films, no one would go and crew with us, or like it was hard for us to even find actors that could resemble our like me finding a brown actor was the hardest thing that I had to try to do. Me finding a brown woman who was acting to be the mom, so, like so hard to do. But it had to do with the fact that the way the film industry is out here is it's a very privileged thing to be in, and
Yeah.
most our high schools don't teach film and out here. Like you have to be at a very rich school to actually learn film in high school out here. And Paca,
Yeah.
what I was trying to do was I was trying to create uh what was needed. What was needed was a community that could connect art students to film students to music students to theater students to poetry students and script writers, like all together in one group that is like trying to uplift the diverse voices. And I ended up creating it, was president for it for only half a semester because I was graduating that. But I wanted to create something and leave this legacy that I can have an impact and give the all the art students the stuff that I was needing. Because through my 2 years of music school, couldn't find anyone to be in a band with me. And then 3 years of film school, it was like I had to do everything by myself. Like my freshman and sophomore films, I'm acting every role in my film, and I'm doing the camera, directing it, and all this stuff, editing it, just because I couldn't find um, a community in that that could accept me, and some of it had to do with the fact that they looked at me as poor or ghetto, and so all the rich people who had been in film school since high school and stuff like that, they looked down upon me because I was someone who didn't know anything about film when I started into it. And the whole point was that I created something so others can actually find that connection. And it actually created there there was there was two big senior films that were created out of my that first semester when I started, where I connected people. And I actually got to be a part of it too. I actually did sound, and I did the score for the film. And it was just a film about a Mexican a Mexican story about actually butterflies. Monarch is what it's called.
Wow.
Um, and about growing out of the ghetto into becoming something beautiful. And like I just the fact that that was able to be created through that club, and then now it's continued on. Now it's yeah, it's actually gotten so big that,
That's amazing.
and the whole reason I brought that up because I know that you were talking about how in one of your interviews, you said that you wanted to make others feel seen and make others feel valued and like they belong. And that was the one thing I didn't feel throughout film school until I paved the path for myself to find the belonging and was able to give others belonging.
I love that. Yeah, no, I tried a different avenue. So I went more the social media aspect. So when I was younger, I was bullied pretty relentlessly. But one instance, it's always the instance that isn't about you that leaves the most impact. It was about my sister. She wasn't bullied. Someone just said an ignorant comment. And so because she's special needs, I was maybe in kindergarten, first grade. I remember someone, my least favorite word is the R word. So someone called my sister the R word. And I was like, Mom, what does that mean? Because I didn't know what that meant. And that was the day I learned what the R word meant. Now, my sister is special, and other kids on the playground would not particularly choose her out of a group of kids to be the one to play with. Not because they were being mean, but simply because they don't know how to play with a special needs child. So my mission was to educate and advocate for people that are different, people that are bullied, people that are special needs. I'm trying to raise awareness about the less known genetic disorders or disabilities or diseases and just try and shed light that hey, like these are kids too. Like everyone in this world needs some love. So if you could just create something and keep it going and get people engaged, I find that so important and so worthwhile.
No, I I wasn't diagnosed till I was like older, but I am on the spectrum. Um, my ADD has, and I'm like autistic ADD a little bit, and
Mhm.
so I had such a bad speech impediment as a kid that I was bullied a lot. And I had to go through like
Mhm.
speech therapy all through elementary school and all this stuff. And I mean, I was able to find a way to be confident when I speak, but when I did back in the day, I would get stuck on a word. I was also learning Spanish and English at the same time, and it would make
Yeah.
it that would make me like confuse words in my head. And then I would get bullied just because I couldn't get a word out of my mouth because I get stuck like you know how leche is milk.
Yeah.
I'd be like let milk, and I'm trying to say a word,
Yeah.
but I'd also get when I couldn't get it out when someone is like making me frustrated, I'd actually get into like panic attacks. And then I'd get bullied more because they're like, "Are you stupid?" Like I never got the R word, but I'd always get stupid, or like I would always get I mean, this is even through my freaking older years working under bosses, like authority figures, the way that they make you feel stupid and make you feel like I mean it happened so much that I was just like I would have to just act stupid so they don't know that I was actually as smart as they yeah. Um I did see the thing that you talked about authority figures too with that and um especially coaches like you said your cheerleading
Yeah.
coach had that too and just coaches making me feel like I was doing something wrong when really I just couldn't express myself because I'm in the spectrum and I was not I didn't have my ADD medicine back then. I have it now, so now make I can make someone who thinks I'm stupid feel really stupid because I have it's the reason why I did 10 years of college was so I could be smarter than anyone who made me feel stupid and I could just like flip it, reverse it and make them feel like they're wrong and make them feel like their values are actually weak, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, I will never forget being bullied by my high school cheer coach. It is such a different kind of isolation when you are bullied by someone who is supposed to be on your team. Like, I was used to getting bullied growing up. People said awful things about me. One day I had milk on my desk and the milk spilled. This was in
Fourth
third
grade?
or fourth grade. Yeah, fourth grade. And the milk spilled on my desk. Ever since that day, I will not say the name of the girl who said this about me, but a rumor started because now people thought I had semen on my desk. I was in fourth grade. I didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
I didn't even find out about said rumor until the next year after I was like, why? I did nothing wrong. Like all of a sudden people started separating their desks from me and doing these little tiny mannerisms to just make me feel alone. Like even friends I had since the beginning of elementary school, all of a sudden like were turning a blind eye. So I was like, what did I do? What did I do? And then a kid the next year told me, and I was like, I came home the next day and I asked my mom, and I was like, what does that mean? And she was like, what? You're in fifth grade. You're not even out of elementary school. And just instances like that. I was isolated for a different reason. So I grew up in the modeling world. I started in this industry at 5 years old. Now, school is very supportive for sports and like painting, things they understand. Modeling, acting, and singing are not really one of those things for my hometown. So I was known as like the modeling kid. And because of that, I'd go to school every day wearing normal school clothes, and everyone would be like, is that real? She's wearing fake clothes. Little things like that. I live in a middle class home. I have certain luxury items, not every single item in my house, but I guess that they resented me because I was doing something so different. So the cause of my bullying is also the reason why the bullying didn't affect me as much. My world was so much bigger than just that classroom. My world, my horizons were always beyond school. So that kids that were just involved in sports, that were going through the same issues, like that is their entire world. That is all of their friends. My world, I had my school, I had my cheer, and then I had modeling and acting. So I knew that the world was so much bigger than what I thought it was. And that is really what pulled me through. Like one instance, it someone pulled me by the back of my tag, ripped my hair over, and checked the tag to see if it was real. I don't remember if it was real or not, but just the instance of feeling so ostracized is insane that another child would stoop to such a petty level to prove a point. It's just insanity to me. And just like a few other instances, there's so many I could go on about the bullying I faced all day. Like, I remember for that article specifically, I never took that much thought into how bad the bullying was. I was like, okay, everyone gets bullied, it's whatever, it's fine, like everyone goes through stuff. And then I actually took an entire afternoon and just dedicated to myself. I was like, okay, what are all of the incidents that happened up till this point? And I sat down by the end of that night, hysterically crying, because I was like, I didn't even realize how bad it was until it's over. So kids are mean, adults are mean. You might think bullying gets better, but it really doesn't. It's just by different people with different titles to their name,
No, it's,
which is what I experienced with my high school coach.
I mean, thank you for sharing that too. Oh, there's so much in there. There's a lot of the things that I was connecting with you with when I was watching this, because or watching your interviews. So I had
Yeah,
football coaches bully me because I would cry, and they'd call me a little girl, a little baby. Then football players would call me gay and like call me
yeah,
all these things that I didn't know at the time that like these are actually things that are compliments. I mean, a woman is stronger than a man. I believe that. And people who are gay have so much courage to actually be themselves. I couldn't like so like the whole how you processed all that in a night and was crying. I didn't do that till I was like 24 when I processed all of that type of just even the racism. I went by the name Cuban for since eighth grade to like no, eighth grade to high school. And
hmm
I literally have it on my Letterman jacket. It says Cuban on it. But it's because I was the only Cuban at my school. So like there was a bit of I was the Cuban, and then me owning that allowed me not to get bullied as much because as a Cuban, I was able to lean into Scarface the movie and act like crazy in that way. And so everyone was like, "Oh,
Good.
don't fuck with Cuban. They that guy's crazy." When really it was actually my first acting role, really. It was me
Yeah.
acting in public like I was not the Pokemon playing, comic book reading, um very sensitive person who um would cry
hmm
I'd cry when I'm happy, I cry when I'm mad, I cry when I'm sad. And but a lot of people wouldn't take that, especially where I was growing up. It was like this I had to have a mask of a thug and I had to act a certain way or else I'm considered weak and then I'm a target and they will try to impress their friends by bullying me and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
me owning that title as Cuban allowed
hmm
me to actually put a mask on where I was acting most of the time because
hmm
I skipped the point though where I was going to get to so I played sports outside of where I was playing or where I was in elementary school and middle school. So like I had two different worlds. And in the sports world, I was like not to brag, I was like one of the best. And I was showcasing that I had in the sports world, I wasn't treated like I was when I was in school. It was two different
Gotcha.
cities from like an
Yeah.
hour away. So I never played sports with the same people I went to school with. And so I was always a leader in the sports world,
hmm
and I was always able to showcase um, it. Well, I was always able to showcase empathy by bringing all these other athletes, like making them feel belonging. Me passing them the ball, making them actually get confidence and courage and stuff that they weren't actually getting from a lot of the other people. But by me being the leader and like the best on the team, me doing that actually like made them more confident. And yeah, I had a lot of parents coming up to me after a lot of games and stuff, that they were just like appreciating the fact that I was making their child feel or gain confidence and feel like they belonged, and I wasn't treating them like how they are being treated in their schools. And then I hit this like the middle school year where I some coach really wanted, because he saw how good I was, he really wanted me on his team. And so he like fought to get me on his team. Someone I really didn't know, but he just knew who I was. And he was the one who started bullying me badly because I was crying a lot. And I was like, when he would yell at me, it would make me cry more, and then he'd yell at me more, and then he would do things like he'd set up little tackling things where like everyone goes and tackles me. I'm like the only quarter, because I was their quarterback. I'm the only one who and he wouldn't put blockers up, but he was trying to toughen me up like a man and all this stuff like that, because he kept calling me a little girl, a little baby, and at the end of the day, I was the only one on the team with any skill too. But that that affected me so much going on further in life, because a figure like that telling me that I am weak when I was the best one on the team, like my confidence shot down so much. But also like I felt like I couldn't cry. So the next year, when I made sure I wasn't on his team, I played in a I played on another team that was like the worst in the league, but I was the only good player. I was the quarterback in, and I actually changed the way I actually felt. So like instead of crying, I would laugh. So when I'd get hit, I would just laugh hysterically like the Joker and scare people. And I like no one there. A lot of people were so afraid of me, but it's because that one coach made me change the way that I actually like acted in sports. And one of those things. A lot of people were so scared of me though. Like as a quarterback, they were like, I don't want to hit this person because he's gonna hysterically laugh.
Yeah. It's just so insane the stereotypes that are pushed and pushed onto people just because they're a boy or they're a girl. Like, I was bullied for a lot of things, but I was never called like a baby. So it's insane that men are forced to turn off their emotions because everyone in their life is telling them that it's not okay to not be okay. So they're forced to stop crying, to pull all of their emotions in, and it's so unhealthy because later in life a lot of these like men explode in unhealthy ways. It
I very respect your openness to open your heart up and actually speak about these tough things. It took me a long time. It took me to doing this show basically to actually speak about these type of things. But you are a good decade younger than me, so the fact that you're able to do this at your age is inspiring, and I wish I could have been that strong when I was younger.
thank you. I always try and open myself up. A few of my friends were telling me this. They're like, you can't close yourself off. You have to let yourself feel your feelings. But whenever I like cry in front of my friends, it's just kind of like an automatic system update in my brain to just be like, okay, time to shut off. I feel like, so my parents are still together. This is probably I've never shared this in an interview, I don't think, or anywhere publicly. So my parents are still together. That doesn't mean they should be. So I grew up in one of the households that there's a lot of arguing. Nothing physical, but just a lot of arguing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I feel like just growing up with that, especially as I grew older, I noticed myself being able to just suck my tears back up in a matter of a millisecond. And one of my friends was like, you do know that that's not normal, right? Like, you're supposed to be able to just let yourself cry. So then I started working on it and I was like, I didn't realize how often I would just let myself coast like this and go numb. So yeah.
And did it get easier for you when you started getting a little older? Do 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 you still coast, or do you allow yourself to be more
I
emotional?
do definitely allow myself to feel, but I do notice myself like even for a week at a time, sometimes it's just kind of like, okay, I'm here. So it's a challenge. Like I've struggled with anxiety and depression. That is something that I've definitely struggled with throughout my life. And again, this act of not realizing it until you get older. Like I remember this one summer. I did every summer, my parents have always tried to make it fun. But I would just remember like this one summer in middle school, all I wanted to do was just lay in my bed. I feel like part of the reason I enjoy music so much is it lets me be vulnerable without having to, mm, I don't know a good way to word this. It lets me be vulnerable in a unique way that I can't just do with jotting things down in a journal or writing a poem. It's this other aspect of putting things to a melody and evoking the motion even through chords and through a beat. It allows me to take some of those walls down again and to just let myself feel. Like I've written a song about my father and I might release it when I'm older, but right now I will never release it because he will hear it. Like I've definitely everything I've written about has come from such a raw place in my heart that I feel like music has definitely helped me connect more with my emotional side too.
I I finally got that when my first time acting on in theater. I was like, wait, I could be myself on stage and act. Like I'm not really acting. I could actually not. I don't have to act if I'm on stage because I'm allowed to be vulnerable and allowed to be emotional,
Yeah.
and that is actually accepted, and it's actually
Encouraged.
it's encouraged and it's applauded. And yeah, when I found that it gave me such a different perspective too, because I didn't realize I was acting so much in my life. I just thought
Yeah.
I thought I was just being the person everyone wanted me to be, and all like how you said, you put all that stuff down, and all of those emotions were still so um they're still there. So like when I act, I reach into those emotions, which isn't always a healthy thing, is to reach down into and you probably know this, but yeah, to reach down
Yeah.
into your trauma because you're
Yeah.
bringing your trauma
Pull it
back up.
out and conjure it for your performance.
And yeah, but it allowed me to actually express and release some of that stuff, even though mentally health, like it, bringing that stuff up led me to some darker moments because I hadn't felt those feelings. I just like buried, and but through acting, I was able to actually like the same thing with music. I was able to give myself a bit of therapy by releasing some of those emotions and
Yeah.
showcasing my vulnerability on stage, which then yeah, it was now acknowledged as
Yeah.
something to do instead of like to hold back. And that's why I fell in love with theater, and I love acting so much because I could bring stuff out of me that I I hide from just regular day life. It took me so long to be able to find the courage to be myself and actually not worry about what other people were thinking about me rather than what I view myself as. Because it hurts to hide yourself, and I realized too long in life that I don't I shouldn't hurt this much trying to hide who I am.
Yeah, it's this uniqueness and individuality that makes each person so special. It's like hiding the best parts of yourself. It can be so damaging. So I'm happy that you have been able to conjure those parts up again for the entire world to see.
And I mean, it all started with music actually. Start because I've always been a poet, so I've always been writing
Mhm.
poetry since I was young. But I wrote a lot of love songs and a lot of things that like I couldn't really share with others. I'd only share them with relationships, like, oh, I wrote you a love
Yeah.
poem and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cute.
And then yeah, but I would never be able to really share it with anybody else. And then once I lost sports, that's when I found a bit of spirituality and I found just a way of relearning through just reading different religious texts and found philosophy. And that philosophy actually helped me rework my mind of like everything that I've kind of been taught by society is kind of actually wrong. It's not
Yeah.
what we would consider authentic or genuine or real. So I was able to kind of re-go into my poetry, and then I wanted to put my poetry to music. I was like, I still have this, and I know I'm good at this. So then I picked up a guitar and started trying to learn it, which led me to music school, to theater school, to film school. But it, if I like a big thing is I was never allowed to be artistic when I was a kid because that was ghetto poor kid from, and I had to be an athlete. I had to be, you know, a thug. I couldn't be artistic, and all of that is just like this bullying that like it's like a societal bullying in a way.
Yeah.
I I've been trying to write a song about societal bullying because that's like a different level of bullying is like because that bullying is what makes other people bully you is they're like, oh, you're
Mhm.
wrong by being
Yeah.
a crying man. And
It's kind of more brainwashing. It's like training the entire public to use one line of thinking instead of, again, allowing that sense of unique opinions, unique voices, unique stances, that just because it's not widely accepted doesn't make that view any less valuable to hold. So people push this narrative of, oh, I have to think like this, I have to dress like this, I have to look like this to be, or in order to be loved and accepted by my peers. So it just puts so much pressure on each individual. Like growing up as a girl in this day and age, every other video you swipe and you see a makeup tutorial. Every other video you're looking at a beautiful girl that meets the beauty standard. But all of these girls are using filters and CapCut to make their lives appear perfect and like there's nothing wrong. Like me on social media, I have tried to align my image with my most authentic self while also still allowing this creative interpretation with my branding. Like Little Devil in Red, for example, I always try, I'm a very festive person. So for things like this, I wore, hold on, let me show you. I just had this is the first time I'm wearing it actually. It says devils on the front and it has a little devil horns
oh, that's cool.
because it's my new song. So I've always tried to just be a little goofy and be quirky and I know I'm sounding like a pick me or whatever, but whatever. Um, but there's always a name for something that someone is doing to pigeonhole them into a box instead of just allowing them to be themselves. Like I remember you said you were like a Pokemon trainer or like a Pokemon collector. I collected Pokemon cards. I have a Charizard Mega EX card upstairs in my room right this very second. Like I have so many cards that I refuse to give away after elementary school and middle school, and then Go came out, and then Pokemon was cool.
Yeah.
We liked Pokemon before it was cool, dude. Like just things like that. It's like it's all society that's pushing this. That's not cool. This is cool. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to do this and that. It's just you take away other people's input. Like I feel like also because I was bullied, it has allowed me to just be myself more because it puts less of a value of what each person's opinion means for your self-image. So in a way, they kind of just evolved me into being like this own little like badass. I don't want to call myself a badass,
You are
but
a
like
badass. You're a
thank you.
badass.
But it allowed me to be like, the world is so much bigger. It is not just about your opinion. Like, even if all of social media was like, you're cringy, like, you're not on the right path, if I'm happy with what I'm doing and I believe that I'm helping people, even if it's just one person, then that is good enough for me. Like, it's never been about the amount of Spotify plays, it's never been the amount of followers I have on Instagram. It's been about me telling my story, no matter what it looks like for everyone else to see.
Yeah, I mean, you got to it pretty early,
Yeah.
which is I'm happy that you were able to get that early. Yeah, because just even just seeing all your interviews and stuff since I think the first one I saw when you were 16, like you already had a bit of strength to actually and the courage
Yeah.
to actually fight against these societal norms that um and the fact that you took on that so early. Yeah, it's inspiring. So what helped me was TV actually. What helped
Yeah.
because there was certain um shows that actually had sensitive male lead characters, but it was like it's nothing that's across the board. Like the shows I'm talking about is Scrubs and How I Met Your Mother. Both of
Okay.
those have a sensitive lead character who actually allowed me to actually be sensitive. So anytime I watch those shows, I mean even Friends, I was crying. This is in my 20s, and I love those shows, and I didn't know why I loved shows so much when I was a kid. But when I was able to reevaluate of like, oh, it's because I'm seeing myself finally in and being accepted like in a way because
Yeah.
usually your male lead character is not the sensitive one, but
Yeah, they're like the
yeah.
strong, arrogant, I'm better than you. Or like I'm a superhero. I have powers. I'm gonna save the world. I'm never weak.
Well, we'll get to superheroes back in a second though, because that comic books very sensitive characters in it,
Yeah.
um, which I nowadays comic books is the biggest thing, and now you're
Yeah.
okay to read comic books and watch Marvel films, but I was bullied for you know reading comic books in the past. Just the fact that those TV shows made me feel heard when I felt like I was unheard. Oh, this is what I was going into. So, have you ever seen the show Sense8?
I have.
Since when I watched Sense8 when I was 24, going through all these emotions of like trying to find out who I actually am, like your song, Who Am I? Um,
Yeah.
I reevaluated all the things that people had said and they, calling me a little girl or calling me gay, and I'm like, I finally gave my permission to ask myself, well, maybe I am. If this is how people view me, and this is how um someone like me is perceived, maybe I am. So I explored a little bit of like my own mind of like, am I attracted to men? Am I do I consider myself a woman? Do I, all these things like that. But all these self-exploration things that like I society had never given me permission to, but Sense 8 gave me that permission because that's what the character is going through in there. And by allowing myself to do that, I was able to actually um, fight back against all of those comments and stuff to me. And, I found out that no, I'm not attracted to men and stuff like that. But um, just allowing myself to actually explore that was like a big aspect of, and also me finding that like the courage of the LGBTQ community is like inspiring. Like all those things that like because if I would have, I mean, honestly, I've only told this to two people, you and Fireside Shadow, because it's something that's hard to tell to another band that I explored that aspect of it because there's that community I grew up in, especially the Cuban community. You're not allowed to be gay in Cuban community. And like one of the biggest um like slurs that you could ever say in Cuban is maricon, which is the F word, which I don't say. I just said, but that's that that's
I think it's okay.
that's basically how they target and make you feel like you are wrong by saying that word. So my whole family has that. Because I have gay cousins and stuff that have been so ostracized by the family because they finally came out as gay. And like I didn't know back in my day how much like because I always loved those cousins. They were like some of the
Yeah.
cousins who accepted me for I was, allowed me to be sensitive. They cry with me, they give me hugs, and and then it made me feel so guilty that I had this little block saying that like because it's society bullying saying that gay is wrong. But no, I realized later on in life that their homophobia was actually bullying people who, sensitive people in way, like bullying LGBTQ community too. But the way that impacted me to make me feel like I was wrong for being sensitive, I've been wanting to explore this and like write about it because it is it is something that needs to be talked about and shared more, especially from men talking about
Yeah.
their them being called that, and then us acknowledging that we had this little bit of homophobia inside of us by society, by because us acting like it was wrong if we were called gay. And it made me feel so much guilt too when I realized that because I was like, I should not have been offended by being called gay. Should not have been offended by being called a girl. But that's just the bullying, that's the way
Yeah.
society has imprinted on me. So when did you start getting homeschooled?
So I got homeschooled the middle of my sophomore year of high school. And I got homeschooled for a few different reasons, but the main one being there was no reason for me to be in a regular high school anyways because I was absent and they were not giving me a chance to turn in late work without giving me zeros. Like even if I did the work within the same amount of time everyone else did, because of my absences, it wasn't taken. So my grades were slipping not because I wasn't a good student, I was an honor student, but because of the extracurriculars that I did that schools just did not understand or think was real or important, it tanked a few of my grades. And my mom was like, that can't happen. You're literally a perfect student. There's no reason at all for you to be getting zeros on things that you will turn in within a day of receiving the assignment. So that and the fact that because of the bullying of my high school cheer coach, that kind of severed the connection between me and a lot of my friends on that team, which is kind of funny because at my other competitive gym that's private, that whole team I was in love with. So it's not the sport, it's literally just what one authority figure can do to make you feel less than. Like I know I was a good cheerleader. I was on a level 4 team. I was a really solid base. Like I know how to do stunts and I know how to tumble. So just the fact that I was made to feel so less than, I ended up quitting the competition team for my high school, not for private gym, but I ended up quitting that team, not because I didn't make the team, I made the team, but because I didn't want to deal with it anymore. So cheer at my high school was tanked, and all throughout my life, I just wanted to be a varsity cheerleader. Like I just wanted to get my varsity letter. And I did. I got my letter. I survived sophomore year cheer. Uh, but in the middle of that year, I was at New York Fashion Week. I was performing on stage. One of the first times I performed on stage at a runway show. Um, and they were like, "You're getting zeros on all of these." And my mom was like, "Do you want to stay in school? Is there any reason for you to be in regular high school instead of thriving in at home school?" And I was like, I took it upon myself, I reflected, and I was like, there's really not. So we pulled me from school. And then I was doing homeschool and then I graduated high school. So, and I always think education is so important and I would never do anything to sacrifice that. It's not because I wanted to take the easy way out, no. It's just because my goals were not aligned with what they viewed as the most important thing.
So being homeschooled, how did that impact you in like the whole aspect of, always feeling ostracized and being kind of left out of different groups and stuff? Being like, did that empower you more as like within your music and your confidence and even your schooling, like, or did it make you feel a little more or less like not having friends and like, do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, the answer is both. So there were definitely times that I was like, all of my friends that I used to hang out with at school, there were a few of them. Now we don't really talk anymore, not just because we no longer have that huge common interest. So just that act of like, what am I doing? Like, is this okay? Like, is this allowed? But then when it came to my music, I was so much more creative. I was so much more driven and this is what I want to do. Like I fell in love with songwriting. I fell in love with like all of these things. So in that aspect, I was doing great. I was learning how to play guitar. I was singing constantly. I was able to just let my creative side go and accomplish like all of these things. But then in another standpoint, some days you just sit and you're like, I feel alone. And it's a scary feeling because you're like, did I choose to be alone? Is this a choice I made or is this something else? Like, am I no longer good enough to entertain personal connections with me and peers? And then I had amazing opportunities to go to California. So I was able to foster new connections with people on the other side of the country. So I was like, it's not anything wrong with me. It's simply because I do not share many similarities with the people I went to high school with. So again, it's about expanding your horizons and realizing this is so much bigger than where I am right now. It's where I'm going to be. And that lesson was so important for me to learn, to be able to realize, hey, I have a friend group here, but it's okay to say no because you are driven. and you want things. And wanting things and the work that is required to be able to achieve them does not always go hand in hand with socialization. Like I attend events and movie premieres and a whole bunch of fun things, but that doesn't mean I can also just hang out with my friends all the time too. It means there has to be a balance between my school life, my personal life, my public life. It's like living three different worlds simultaneously and making sure you maintain grounded and yourself at all times. So it was definitely a learning curve, but I feel like I conquered that challenge and it made me stronger.
How do you feel now that you have like so many followers and so many fans? Does it help at all with that feeling of being ostracized and feeling like you've been rejected in your past and just all this stuff? Does How's your heart feel now that so many people love you and were fans of you and
It is a constant source of inspiration, just knowing that these people are believing in what I'm doing and what I'm creating. Uh, like I love the whole idea. Also, this is where threads come in of community over competition. Just finding even a community of like-minded people and musicians and filmmakers and creatives that can all just band together and be creative together within their respective areas of expertise. And it's so amazing to just be able to collaborate. And some of my favorite collaborations have come from threads and come from Instagram and come from meeting people along my journey that normally we would never have access to if it wasn't for social media. Like, I collaborated with Post Masquerade and Mainframe on a rock song. Like, that was my first rock song I ever made. And I love it. Like it's unique. It's not like the other rock songs out there, that's for sure. But I feel like that like little twist is cool and something that you could totally own and call like this is something we all made together. We all added our creative flares and it turned out into this song, this piece that can be shared worldwide. And it's just so amazing. Like along my way, I met Mainframe, Post Masquerade, I met a composer from Vienna named Raphael Fem, and we did a collaboration, and now the song's called Mr. Avoidable. It's out everywhere. Just meeting amazing people. Like Mr. Avoidable, for example, when I created the lyrics, but I didn't know exactly how I wanted it to go. I just had the idea of how I wanted the chorus. And then I showed it to Raphael. I thought I wanted it to be a pop song. He heard it, he heard jazz. Now it has jazz flares and I love the song more than I can't hear it any other way now. So it's just how amazing creatives being put together and forming this sense of community is. And not only that, but fans and people interacting, and it's all just encouragement, letting me know that I am on the right path. Like I get DMs sometimes of people being like, this song, it reminds me of such and such happening to me. Like this song has really left an impact on me. And ever since I got that first DM, it was like a long paragraph. I was like, my music's actually impacting people. This is what I wanted. Like this is why I wanted to share my stories and be let myself be creative and vulnerable and share this with everyone in the world. And now my music is actually accomplishing something. It's what you talked about in the very beginning, something about a legacy, something that is yours that you can pass on. Music never dies. Whether someone else sings it 100 years later, it's still your song that you wrote. It will always, some part of you will always be carried on with music. And it's just it's so encouraging and it's so amazing to be able to go on my account, go on Instagram, and just be reminded how many people believe in you. Go on Spotify for artists and look at how many followers you have. It's not nearly as many as Instagram, but it's dedicated people that manage to click that follow button simply because they love your music. Simple actions can mean so much to the artist and to the fan. Or I don't even like to call them fans. I just like to call us all a community because saying fans gives this view that you're better than them. And I don't believe I am better or worse than anybody. I believe we are all humans sharing our story. And I love being able to connect with people one on one as I share my story and they share theirs. So social media has really brought such a new world with music, being able to connect so many more people together that otherwise would have never met. So ultimately, social media definitely does have its downsides. Like I've been on social media since 8 years old, but I was not managing it fully or really mostly until I was 16 years old. Simply because I was too much of a minor. People are lewd. Before 16, I just was not allowed to go into DMs by myself because people on the internet send very lewd pictures without
Yeah.
being prompted to. So
Yeah.
my parents did not want to subject me to the more negative sides of the internet. I feel like with that song, specifically Devil in Red, was really my starting point into stepping into this new era of who I am as an artist. I am 18. I want to make my mark. I want to release this song and have it be a bang. I want it to make some waves. And I feel like I accomplished exactly that. Like people were calling me a devil worshiper.
What?
I promise I do not worship the devil.
What?
Yeah, no. A Satan worshiper, a devil worshiper. It was all around like Halloween, but yeah, no, just the art of doing something, I guess, against the norm or leaning in a little into just saying the word devil and like the temptations that people face. I wanted to express that temptation, not that I cast spells and am a witch. But I just laughed at the comments because I was like, okay, so people are really internalizing this song. Any hate comments are comments that are rooted in deep feelings. So I still did my job of making someone feel something.
Can't believe people actually said that to you because, I mean, people are still bullying you. This is wrong. But I'm glad that you were able to wave it off, like,
Yeah,
and laugh at it.
thank you.
Sorry that it's still happening.
It's okay. Right now I just think of it, it's all about perspective. And your perspective about things changes absolutely everything you view in life.
You made such a professional production music video with Little Devil in Red
Thank you.
that I can see there's probably a bit of jealousy in there. And that is one thing on threads that the community over competition, we're not competing, so
Yeah.
we're not reaching out through jealousy, more as in inspiration
Mm-hmm.
and just admiring each other's work and just being
Yeah.
able to empower one another through it. But there's a lot of jealousy in the world, and I could see that, especially within. I mean, I have my family who doesn't really um, listen to my music and stuff like that, or watch my talk shows or videos or whatnot.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes from jealousy, and they told me that it comes from that. Like they were doing what I was doing,
Yeah.
and that level of hate coming from jealousy, which
I find it kind of funny looking back now because some of the people that were the absolute meanest to me growing up have texted me and they're like, "Hey, how did you get into modeling? I'm thinking about doing it too." So it's just that confirmation that it is in fact jealousy. It is in fact, oh, they they now see that I wasn't being fake and that my opportunities were real and something I was passionate about. And now seeing the little bit of success that I've managed to attain, now they want some of it. They didn't want it before they saw the reward. They thought it was weird. But now that they see, oh, she got invited to to a Disney premiere. Like, okay, like she's actually going places and doing things and trying to become something. I want some of that for myself. I didn't think anyone in my town could be famous, but she's she's on her way to becoming something. I don't know if I'm going to be famous. I don't like that word because it's like everyone views fame as something different, reaching a different level, reaching a different goal. So I don't use the term famous really often, but so many people in my town do. So that's why I said it the way I said it. But it just reaffirms that it's okay. That's why you were so mean to me because you just didn't understand it yet.
Yeah, it took me a while to realize that like actually now I feel bad for anyone who's jealous of me. Like honestly, like
Yeah.
I don't hate them for it, even though they might have hated me or did
Yeah.
evil acts, but I understand where they're coming from now
Hmm.
because um yeah, and being come from a place that no one really makes it out of, and
Hmm.
I'm one of the only people who kind of made it out of that place. Um, I don't live there anymore, but one day I'll go back to my high school and be able to inspire the next generation.
Yeah.
I just need to make it to that point. But that is one of my goals is to go back and speak to the people who are, the kids who might be feeling like how I did at that time, and then give them
Yeah.
like you can make it out of this place, even though no one makes it out of. I can't name one person who has found fame or anything like that out of Thornton, Colorado. Like finding that reason, that goal of what you want to become, like how you said.
Yeah.
My goal is just to um, change the world in any little way I can. Are you still running Ava's advocacy army?
I'm not as active on the platform simply because I try and also showcase my life with my sister on my main Instagram. Like whenever I go places with her, I always make sure to do like a little slice of life post or just be like, hey, like this is an important part of my life that other people might not be aware of. Even if it's not that page, I will always be advocating for people that are marginalized or less fortunate. I always want to use my platform as a positive impact for people, no matter what that might look like.
What is coming up next for you?
So I'm working on a bunch of new songs. My most promising one, I will share a little like what it's about. So this one is going to be coming up in spring and it's called Lemonade. It's kind of rolling off of the trajectory of Little Devil in Red, kind of like you're asking someone to like come over and like make lemonade. So it's definitely a suggestive lyric, which is why I want it to be so danceable. Thank you so much for having me. If you want anyone who's listening to this right now, you could find me on my Instagram at AvaBreeze underscore. You could also find me on my TikTok at AvaBreeze10. And if you want to follow me on my Snapchat, that's also at AvaBreeze10. I'm pretty sure I might be wrong. Um, on my threads, it's the same as my Instagram. And that's all my socials. Also, follow me on SoundXYZ at, I think it's just Ava Breeze. Thank you.
Yeah.
This has
De-
been great.
Definitely check out her song Little Devil in Red, and after you check that out, check out our poetic interpretation of it. And thank y'all for joining episode 12 of Being Vulnerable.
Bye,
Um,
guys.